Welcome everybody to another fantastic CIRF report. This one extremely positive. Now I want to forewarn you because there are a lot of astrological influences, but the solution to all this is very clear. We are probably in the highest correlation ratio across the I-Ching, the astrology, and the DreamBot, hitting on all cylinders. There's only one hexagram, and that's I-Ching 19, hexagram 19, called the approach. There's no change lines, so the solution is the influence, and I'm really excited about that. That doesn't happen very often. The DreamBot speaks of pretty much the exact same thing. If the I-Ching is talking about the approach, I'm going to obviously explain all this later, and we're going to definitely drill down the astrology. But if the I-Ching is talking about the coming approach of goodness and seeding things and achieving things, well, the DreamBot and the collective is thinking along the same lines, and achievement and celebration. But also, because there's achievement, wherever there's achievement, they recognize that there are challenges. So we've got the whole picture there. We're not just skipping to the achievement, because we know in order to achieve, we have to face challenges. And then let's look at the astrology. We're going to go down day by day, but I want you to see how much big influence is out there in the astrology. So here we go. Venus in Aries for Valentine's Day. So very big and powerful, very passionate. But then Venus square Jupiter, so now kind of the relationship goes the opposite way, kind of feels restricted. But we have Mars going into Capricorn, we have Mercury retrograde, but even all that through all of the week, we're going to focus in on Sun. No, I'm not going to tell you yet, just the two planets, Sun and Mars, and they have a special aspect that is going to pretty much run the influence. And why? Because it overlaps directly with the things that we just talked about. So let's get into the DreamBot. And in the DreamBot, I'm seeing some pretty interesting things. And before we even get into the memes, I want you to see these linguistics. And sometimes these linguistics are very meaningful. So linguistic set number 1, it says sun especially changes. Well, it just so happens we have the Sun and Mars and the Uranus aspect with Mars. And the Sun being ego in this case in terms of astrology. So we've got some changes there. Ego's got some changes. And by the way, what I didn't mention, Sun going into Pisces. Holy cow. Lots of changes up there. All right, now linguistic set number 2. This is our first hint of coronavirus in the DreamBot. It says fairly large virus. Now, what's interesting is there is kind of a disconnect, as you can see already, with just the DreamBot itself and the larger mediascape. So media probably hitting on all the fear cylinders and buttons and hitting everybody's triggers, but the influence this week seems like an opportunity. And so listen in, especially through the astrology, but especially listen in for the solution and as we triangulate further. So what are the memes here in the DreamBot? The red arrows is all about the challenges and kind of keeping ourselves in a box. It's frustration. So in a box, rats, police, steep, done, frustrated. So even the word frustrated in there. Steep implies that it's really hard to get up there. And that's interesting because of Mars going into Capricorn. And Mars in Sagittarius is just flat land, has no problem moving forward. And with Capricorn, then not only do the goals come along, but also the challenges come along. So that's indicated in the astrology as well. But the bigger meme here is the orange arrows, and that is about celebration and achievement. So things like arrived and climbing and dancing and celebrating, music stuff. It's all about celebration and achievement. And that's the heavier of the two memes. So yeah, there's some bad stuff in here, fairly large virus, and some ego changes or sun changes, maybe some sun spots or something in the physical sun and not just metaphoric. So anyway, a lot of interesting things there in the DreamBot, and I'll have the link down below if you want to go look at it yourself at the National Dream Center. All right, let's get into the astrology, and I can give you even more overview. But as you could, I forgot to give the focus pointer, so we'll do that. I'm looking here at Mars changing signs, going into Capricorn, and that's going to produce a lot of goal setting, objective, and moving towards those, but also a perception that there are a lot of challenges in the way. But the I-Ching covers all that, so just hold on, and we're going to see just how much influence that has. Then we've got Mercury retrograde. Now, everyone loves to focus in on Mercury retrograde. We're going to touch on it, but I'm going to tell you that these other influences definitely overshadow the Mercury retrograde, at least this time around. And that's probably good news for most people. The sun, like I mentioned, is going to change signs, going into Pisces. And then we have none of these red are considered like bad. I don't like any alignments considered bad per se. These are conjunctions. So you've got Jupiter conjunct Pluto, so optimistic transformation. There's a lot of change there. We have Mercury conjunct Neptune, so that's interesting. We got rational mind and the kind of the creative mind or the dreaming mind. Those are smashed together, and that could be rationalizing your dreams or trying to make sense of your dreams. And then you throw in Mercury retrograde into that alignment. You kind of have a mess in terms of what's happening in the mind. And so that's going to be part of the solution. It's going to be a lot more doing this week and capturing opportunity than it is just waddling inside of your brain. All right, then we have this big old green opportunity here, and this is what I was mentioning earlier. This is a huge alignment for lots of reasons, but Sun sextile Mars. And it starts right on day one. It starts tomorrow. If you're watching this on Wednesday night, starts on Thursday, gets on this early phase, and it's lasting for a couple weeks. So we have, if we don't know yet what the next CIRF report energy will be, but perhaps this will get even stronger in the following week. But right now, it is the dominant energy. It is an opportunity for ego to achieve. And Mars being the achievement, Sun being ego, and remember, the Sun early in the week is going to be in Aquarius, so it's going to be more of collective concerns and aspirations. And Mars, with that fire, with that sextile, shows an opportunity to really push forward your life purpose. So that's the grand sort of energy as we head into this astrological week. It's a powerful energy to move forward, but more so about life mission, thinking kind of Aquarius concerns. And then you've got Mars in Capricorn, the ability to get it done. All right. Now, I guess I didn't make it, I might not have made it clear that I'm going to throw out a lot of aspects, and it's going to look like a typical week with these aspects. Will be going, holy cow, this doesn't look good. So for example, on Thursday, the 13th, we have a T-square, but we also start off with this Sun sextile Mars. So, and this is no part of the T-square. So the T-square energy is with the moon, so that's not going to last more than a day-ish. And that is emotionally attached to Saturn. So emotionally attached to the way things have always been. And of course, with Saturn square Uranus, that we talked about that last time, that's going to produce a lot of fundamental changes about the way things have always been, about ideals, about security, about safety. But your emotions are fearing that. So your emotions are fearing fear, or fearing the structure, or your safety is in question, that kind of stuff. That's the T-square. So in order to stay out of that, I would stay with the sun sextile Mars. And it's the early part of this energy, so it might just be very faint, but the energy is definitely there. As we end up in Friday, the 14th, this is Happy Valentine's Day, and Uranus is making a couple aspects. The Uranus trine Mars, the ability to really affect change in the world. We covered that last week as well. But like any Happy Valentine's Day, we're looking for Venus, and Venus just happens to be a perfect conjunction with the part of fortune, at least in the early afternoon or the mid-afternoon Central Standard Time. Then we also want to throw in Chiron, because Chiron's in that conjunction. So it's Venus, part of fortune, and Chiron. So it's very fortunate to be passionate about your relationships, especially, and these relationships are healing. You're healing your partner, you're healing the wounds from the past. And so in Aries, all of that in Aries, gives it a lot of fire. And, you might have some selfishness, but we're moderated the selfishness with the Chiron aspect. So it's a lot more altruism and wanting to just help other people in that. But you have the impulsiveness and the energy to do it. So there's a lot of passion, a lot of fire, and a lot of fortune, and a lot of healing. But then on Saturday, Venus picks up a square over to Jupiter. Now this one is interesting because Jupiter is the optimistic one, but if we've got a square to it, we got obstacles appearing from our harmony or relationship. So if we think of the opposite of what we just had on Valentine's Day, it's kind of now we're feeling like the relationship is more restrictive in nature. But nonetheless, still conjunct with Chiron, so at least we've got some healing energy together in the relationship. It is worth mentioning the sun is squaring off to the moon, but the moon with opportunities, emotional opportunities, up to Saturn and Pluto. So the sun square moon. This is not really energetically balanced day. So that's the sun square moon is kind of an imbalance, if you will, and especially emotionally and identity-wise, ego-wise, it's going to feel a little bit imbalanced. But the emotions have an opportunity to moderate or transform the emotions with Pluto, and then develop more safety and security with Saturn. So there's sextiles there. And again, I don't like focusing too much on the moon's aspects because the moon does whip around there fairly fast. All right, so Sunday, not only does it get warmer here in Arkansas, we have Mars going into Capricorn. So that's down in here. But, okay, so let's focus on that first before I do the but. Mars in Capricorn, yes, there's a lot of power to move forward. And unfortunately, the forward isn't really flat, so it's not easy climbing. It's going to be difficult climbing. It might feel steep, but Mars can do it. And Mars loves to achieve things, and so does Capricorn. So perfect combination. Unfortunately, here's the but. Look at all the squares happening on Sunday. So there's lots of obstacles. There's a lot of chaotic energy. That's with the Mars squares. So with the brand new Mars energy in Capricorn, how about this? How about we just kind of lay low and but really think hard about the goals that you can achieve later, not today. So on Sunday, let's just lay back and watch the world go by if you can. If you can't, then try to be just as calm and collected as you can emotionally, or at least diffuse from the emotions. I can describe that later. That is diffuse is an ACT therapy term, acceptance and commitment therapy, where we honor the emotion in there, but we don't really attach to it. We don't get lost in the emotion. We let it be there. We recognize it, look at it, experience it, but we don't talk or think about it. We don't really put a lot of credence in it. Not that we distance from it, not that we ignore it or repress it, but letting it be there. Okay, so make your goals. That's the whole point on Sunday. Make some really strong goals. On Monday is go time, but we have some caveats. This is when Mercury goes retrograde, and so in Pisces, we're looking at kind of a dreamy past. And by that, I mean a lot of daydreams, maybe some nightmares. If we're thinking about the past, retrograde, and with the Mercury being rational mind, but it's in water, it's thick, it's in Pisces, it's going to be kind of mystical and dreamy. So it may be hard to figure out, sift between reality and alternate reality or dreams. But there's going to be a lot of daydreaming going on and a lot of being lost in your thoughts. And it's going to be about the past. So nostalgia, thinking good about the past, or past trauma or nightmares, that kind of thing. So all that's going to be in the potential experience. And that's why I'm saying, let's probably just ditch what's happening in the mind and really focus on the experience of achieving. I'm going to point back to kind of a clear sky astrologically, but we still have that sun sextile Mars, which is now in Capricorn, is getting stronger. It's getting closer, getting more influential as we go. So climb onto that one. And again, sun's still in Aquarius, so it's more of a collective concern. So that would point more to a life purpose, a life mission, if you can set those goals with Mars being in Capricorn. All right, Tuesday the 18th. The emotions are congruent, and we have mega goals because there's nothing hindering this Mars in Capricorn energy. Yeah, there are a couple squares. We talked about those before. Relationships are still kind of going to feel maybe not negative per se, but more maybe obstacled or maybe more judgmental or more constrictive in nature. Maybe your beautiful side or your side that wants to experience wants to just break out and not feel so constricted there. If that's the case, I would focus in on those life purpose goals. That's a big activity here as it grows. So now the sun, now we're heading into Wednesday the 19th, our last day of the CIRF report, of this CIRF report. Sun goes into Pisces, and now the ego is kind of getting lost in the water, if you will, in the mysticism and the dreaminess. There's a lot more to this. So maybe a little bit more of potential to complain a little bit or be feeling like you're slowed down a lot. There's a lot, but there's a lot happening in the mind too, because Sun in Aquarius is a very mental mind on fire. And now Sun in Pisces is kind of really kind of weighs that down, not in a heavy way, but in a slower way, kind of slow thoughts or thoughts that kind of slow down. And then if you connect Pisces to the 12th house, we're kind of looking at 12th house matters like the self-undoing. And so maybe the sun or the ego is more worried about what these goals were, or maybe have self-doubt about yourself being able to achieve those. And but that's still a sextile, still getting stronger, and still going to be that force to help you achieve stronger goals. Okay. All right. Now let's get rid of the highlighter and let's look at the I-Ching reading. So we cast the coins and we had Earth over Lake, and that's hexagram 19. It's called Approach to Spring. Now here in Arkansas, it's kind of approach to spring like twice a week now. It's like going cold and then hot and cold and hot, not hot, but warmer. And so I don't think we connect this particular hexagram with the actual the spring like equinox. It's not like a season kind of thing. Don't connect it with that, I don't think. But let's read what this has to do with our behaviors. There is vitality in the air. I'm already thinking about Sun and Mars, maybe even Uranus sprinkled in there. This is a most auspicious time. Negative forces are only beginning to stir and can be effectively controlled. This sounds a lot like Mars, especially in Capricorn. There are going to be obstacles there, but Mars can power through those in Capricorn. This is a time of hopeful progress and must be used to best advantage. When approaching good fortune, conscientious work pays great dividends. So right there it's saying be mindful, and I'm suggesting I'm going to add a few things in here. Be mindful of the goal. So that's important. Early on this week, create your goals and get ready for this Mars energy, Capricorn energy goal and achievement, because the energy is there. Even with Mercury retrograde, even with the T-square early on, even with all those squares that we mentioned, even with Venus square Jupiter. A clear road lies ahead. In the spring, seeds that have been lying dormant are ready to bloom. This is the energy of what's happening right now. So here's the solution. Act now, for at some point this ripe opportunity for advancement will be challenged. No spring lasts forever. It's wise to stay alert and note the changing signs of the times. In doing so, preparing for less fertile times is a noble and fruitful effort. So not only achieving your goals, but going a little bit extra so that you have some reserves for maybe the next downtrend. Make the most of the season now. So we always look at the change lines, and there aren't any change lines in this one, so we go with the unchanging. And it says, when you rise each day like spring, is every day is a flowering. This is a fortunate hexagram to receive with no lines changing. The message is that approach is more than a momentary event for you. Your abilities and compassion have already led you into service of others. This is amazing, because that's the Sun in Aquarius aspect. Service to others. What are you going to do for humanity? This sounds like a life purpose, like Mars in Capricorn. There is an eternal flow of abundance at your disposal. Your positive attitude makes every day feel like spring. The only warning approach offers is when you are not being approachable. Perhaps you have cut yourself off from communication in some way. So in this one, you can see that the Venus square Jupiter could have a negative impact on your solution. So don't cut yourself off from others just because you feel potentially crippled or constricted from the relationship aspect. A high level of focus is placed on reaching out to someone. If that is not an option or contact isn't reciprocated, then the message of quickening suggests allowing events to unfold naturally, like seeds beneath the earth at springtime. Perhaps a period of waiting for approach has allowed you to cultivate talent or a type of inexhaustible teaching that puts you at service to others. All right, so that's that. And then all we have left to do is talk about the summary slide. So let's go there. And as you can see, I won't reiterate all the astrology, but it's even more than I've indicated here. And it looks chaotic. And if you go day by day, it looks like there's different challenges each day. But if you go at a week context, there's a lot of opportunity there, a lot of opportunity to design your life purpose if you don't have it. But if you already have your life purpose, which if you don't, make sure that you design some goals, at least a vision of service to others in some form or fashion, ideally using your talents. And then immediately going in and getting it done, or at least getting it started. This is a golden opportunity. There's a good chance that you'll have another week of this with the Sun sextile Mars, but we don't know that. And we don't know what the other energies are telling us until we look at next week. But here's the solution for this coming week, 2/13 to February 19. Negative forces and obstacles are smaller right now, and And I would propose that maybe they're not smaller per se, but the Sun sextile Mars gives you a little higher stature. So looking down on these challenges tends to not look so big and cumbersome as they did before. So that's going to go away if you don't do something right now. These obstacles are small, easy to pass. The time of hope and good fortune. Set goals and bring out life purpose and help your fellow humans. Seize the opportunities that arise. These are the seeds that have naturally been planted earlier that maybe you didn't know about, or maybe you've been waiting for. Build big goals. Challenge yourself. And then with the Capricorn aspect, climb the mountain. Maintain a positive attitude. Accept the obstacles that might arise, that might present themselves, but then move through them with confidence, with that Mars energy. Okay. And with that, I mean, I could keep on going with suggestions, but I want to just end it with those simple concepts. I'll let you read that slide some more if you need it. Questions here or comments? I love these extra comments that people are leaving. Please keep that up and let me know if there's more things that I've missed. I try to not have too big of an ego to where I can assimilate and have room for everyone's suggestions here. All right. Have a great week, everybody. Enjoy it. It might be confusing, might be energetically chaotic, but nonetheless, the energy's there to really push forward. So do it. All right. Take care.